1, 2, 3. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Career Talk series. This episode's theme is Supercharge Your Resume. This program is organized by the Persatuan Bahasa Literasi dan Terjemahan or PBLT Society to improve students' resume writing skills as a preparation for the working life. My name is Nurul Iza binti Hurairah. I am one of the organizing committee members at the PBLT Society, and I will be serving as your moderator for today's talk. Before introducing our honored speaker today, let me remind you of a few housekeeping rules. Number one, please make sure your microphone is on mute. Number two, do not interrupt the session. If you have any questions, do type them out at Webex and YouTube chat box. Our committee will help collect all of the questions. Your cooperation is greatly appreciated. Also, all participants are reminded that by the end of the talk, there will be another link for recording your attendance to earn my CSD and also a group photo shoot. You are encouraged to put on your smiles and a virtual background we have provided. So this talk is being held live on Webex and is being live streamed on YouTube. So please do consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, which is School of Language, Literacies and Translation. More educational programs like this will be held here soon, inshallah. Before introducing our speaker, I would like to invite the Honored Dean of the School of Languages, Literacies and Translation, Professor Dr. Salasia binti Cela, to give an opening remark. With great pleasure, the floor is yours, Professor.
Thank you very much, Nurul Iza. Firstly, I would like to welcome Mr. Chuah Kee Man from Faculty of Language and Communication, Universiti Malaysia Sarawak, or UNIMAS. Yeah, welcome to the School of Languages, Literacies and Translation, USM. And I also would like to welcome Dr. Alabash Muhammad Ayub, or known as Dr. Abbas, the chairperson of English Language for Professional program, and all students who are here today to listen to Mr. Chuah Kee Man on his topic, Supercharge My Resume, or Your Resume actually, right? And I would like to thank you, Mr. Chuah Kee Man, for being able to spare your time with us despite your busy schedule to talk about a very important topic to our students, especially the students who are graduating soon and they are looking for a job. And this is very important for them to prepare before they actually apply for a job and then to send their application together with resume. And if they are successful, they will be called for interview and so on and so on. Yeah. So therefore, this is the very beginning of student employment in the future, as well as to create a good impression to whomever or whatever company that you are applying for, so that they will actually shortlist you from the beginning. They see your resume. So therefore, you should learn very important tips from the honorable speaker to make sure that you are able to provide a very distinguished resume, to impress the potential employer in the future. For those who are still in your first year or second year, take this as a learning opportunity so that you can develop your resume over the years. Maybe there are still gaps and also opportunities for you to venture into in order to complete your resume. Besides providing the academic qualification, you should also try your skills at various opportunities. If you are good in music, you are good in computer, and so on and so forth, please make sure you work on these skills and also provide them all the information about the skills in your resume. I'm sure Mr. Chuah Kee Man will be able to bring you further into all the important aspects of writing good resume. So without wasting so much time, once again, I would like to thank our speaker, Mr. Chuah Kee Man, Dr. Abbas, the chairperson, and all students. Thank you for your time, and I wish you all the best for this session. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullah.
Thank you so much, Professor, for the lovely speech. Continuing to this program, let me formally introduce our speaker today, Mr. Chuah Kee Man. Who is Mr. Chuah Kee Man? Mr. Chuah Kee Man is a senior lecturer at the Faculty of Language and Communication, majoring in educational technology, computational linguistics, English language teaching, and instructional design. He is also the co-director of Startup Grind Malaysia, a global community in helping startups to grow. He has won several awards at national and international levels for various innovation in teaching and learning as well as assistive technology. He was also the recipient of UNIMAS Academic Award for the Teaching Award category in 2014, as well as the Best E-Learning Facilitator at International University E-Learning Carnival 2016. A very amazing guest we have today. How are you doing, Mr. Chua? With great pleasure, I invite Mr. Chuah Kee Man to begin and take over.
Thank you so much, Nuriza, for the gracious introduction, and also to Prof. Salasia for the welcoming remarks, and Dr. Abbas for initiating this session, I think, because I was kind of invited to give the talk earlier, but then I couldn't do it earlier. I can only do it in now. And I would personally like to thank the PERSATUAN for also initiating, and all the students involved in this program. I think you are doing a good job, and I hope it continues. And a little bit of disclaimer: I am not a career coach, right? Just in case you're wondering why is this guy talking about resume when he's not even a career coach. I'm not self-proclaimed career coach that you see a lot online and all that, but I'm basing on my own experience in not only in helping people to improve the way they write resume or even to get a job, but also my involvement with a lot of human resource personnel, because we were doing a lot of research with the companies, and we would definitely ask them, what do you want actually in our graduates and all this thing. And we have been doing quite a few recent one after the pandemic, and you will realize later that a lot have changed, and I will tell you why companies are not really looking at your resume like before. They're looking for something else in your resume. So I'll be sharing based on my experience and whatever I've learned throughout the process. Not so much about I want to claim that I'm going to get you a job and all that, whatever you see online, that kind of thing. But I believe they have shared a lot, and I would also share my point here. So let me just share my screen. Let me just put this aside because Webex will take over my whole screen. Okay, should be all right. Okay, I think you can see my screen now. So I kind of how to put it? I kind of put the title as Supercharge because after 2 years of this COVID-19 pandemic, everyone is like having a low battery. My students as well, those who have graduated for the past 2 years, they are suffering a lot lately, and they couldn't get a job. And even with good CGPA, impressive resume, but they just couldn't. So I was thinking, we need to supercharge it, charge back your battery and see whether you can improve a bit and or make some tweaking to your resume and see whether it would help you in getting a better job or maybe secure at least your first job, right? For those who are graduating and all that. Okay, let me just quickly go through the parts that we will be covering. I have divided into 4 parts, as mentioned by Nuriza just now. If you have any question, just type in the chat. I will probably break, in between parts. Like after one part, I will take a short break and see. I mean, not like break for long, just to see if there are any questions. Then I will entertain all the questions. And we'll be talking about the purpose of resume, and then the layout, the language, and the lure. The lure is actually like the extra tips that I told you that I have learned for the past 2 years, especially. Okay, let's go to the first one: understanding the purpose of a resume. All right, missing there. Oh yeah, before that, what's the difference between a resume and a CV? Just in case anyone is still, wondering. Sometimes you hear people say resume. Sometimes you hear people say a CV or curriculum vitae. What are the differences? You can type in the chat box. Let me just quickly turn on my CV. Yeah. If you have any idea What are the major differences between these two things? Or they are basically the same thing but with different names. Yeah, Li Jing say it is not the same. Definitely, it's well, you could say that it's similar, but they are not the same. Sama tapi tak serupa. You know, in Malay they call it. CV is more detailed compared to resume. Li kind of get it quite right there. It's more detailed. But what else apart from the detailing part? Why do you think you think they call it curriculum vitae? Or they take it from Latin and then it was French and all that. But if you take a look at the first word curriculum, right? What's the meaning? Those in language, you should know the meaning of curriculum. If you trace back the origin of the word curriculum, it actually is probably related to education, right? So a CV, it's more have more emphasis on your educational background, your credentials, mostly related to education. Like all your certificates, your certifications are more relevant in a CV. Resume covers more than that. It emphasizes more on your experience, your skill set, and all that. But in Malaysia, what we noticed was a lot of companies use this synonymously, which is a bit difficult for a lot of graduates because when they use it synonymously, it's actually quite tricky, right? Because some company, when they say CV, you might think, oh, do you want a detailed one or do you just want a brief resume? When you use resume, when I send in a one-page resume, you say, oh, you want a longer one. You get what I mean? So it's quite tricky in that sense. But I will tell you how to overcome this kind of problem later. But you need to know that resume is widely used in the corporate world. Well, in most of the companies, they will ask you to send in a resume because they don't have time to read through everything. But a CV is more relevant to academic world, or if you're applying for research position and all that, it's more relevant to, and this is a resume. It's more relevant in the industry. Usually very concise and 1 to 4 pages. There's a misconception saying that resume should be 1 page. It's wrong, right? It can be up to 4 pages. In fact, if you even more can, but ideally it's 1 to 4, which I will tell you why later. Okay. I didn't put the CV here, but CV is a lengthier one, and like you said, more detailed, but focusing more on your highlighting your credentials. Like in academic position, if you're applying to become a lecturer or you want to apply for your promotion, let's say a lecturer from a senior professor, a senior lecturer want to promote to be associate professor, and then to professor, then you need to highlight all your mostly your credentials first, and then your publication, your papers and all that, because those are highlighting your academic credential, not so much about what you did in your job so much. But of course, there are certain portion in there. But if you're applying for jobs in the real world, like resume, they don't need that, because unless, of course, the job requires you to specify. For example, if you're applying for a translator job, they might want to see some of your writings, some of your work, so you might want to put it in. Okay, but generally, a resume is a very concise, but highlighting more on your skills, as experience and education. You will notice why sometimes you have very good education, even if you put your results, everything in the first part of your resume, it doesn't give any weightage because they will go still to your skills. You get what I mean? You can get a 4 flat in your education if you're applying for a certain job, but if you have no skills at all at the bottom, then it will not add anything. But if your skills are good, right? If you have good skills, even if your education may not be that good, you still get the job, because the priority is on this one now, especially in these days and age. And because then, like we know that if you throw a stone, you can get anyone with a degree, and anyone with a first class degree even now, right? It's more common than before. Back in our days, maybe it's quite rare to get people who are in first class honors and all that. But these days, I think quite a handful, and then you're competing among each other. Okay. Why do we need a resume? I put a link there, but sometimes let me just adjust this so that you can scan the code. Okay, can you see? So you can, if you're using your phone to access this, then you can use the link given. I just want to gather your quick idea. Why do we actually need a resume to begin? Yeah. Can you go to that link? Okay. wooclap.com/ you can click the link in the chat, or you can just, if you are using your laptop, then it will be easier. You can use your phone to scan. If you're using your phone to access this talk, then you might want to just click on the link. Then you will open up a browser and then just quickly respond to that. It's open-ended. You can type whatever you want, but generally, why do we need a resume? I mean, what's the purpose of it? Apart from saying that to apply for a job, but why do we need it? I'm gonna put it here, and then you can see I have about 6 responses so far. To see our background, qualification, get job, to promote ourselves, to give an overview of your education background. I mean, every time you put a statement, you don't have to put a question mark. You don't have to be unsure, because there's no right or wrong. Okay, to allow people to know a bit of us in a glance, to give your potential employer a feel of your past experience and skills, right? To showcase your skills, to prove that I'm a real worker based on the skill. Wow, meaning you're unreal. There are people who are unreal. What else? Let me see if I get any. To market ourselves, to promote, to impress. Ease the company to know us, promote us. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, all of this are what you need in a resume. I mean, why do we need a resume to begin with, right? But just in case there's any else that I saw. I like this, to get a better job, not just a job, but to get a better job. But resume, yeah, could help you, but may not be definite, but it could help you definitely to kind of get a better job. To convince. If you take a look at all your responses so far, like to convince, to impress, to see our background and all that, most of these things, yeah, I mean, we can put it in our resume, but there's a second layer to any job application, which is the interview, right? And the interview will be the one that kind of give you the platform to convince further or to impress further. So your resume, I like the word just now. Someone used a glimpse. It's more like a glimpse, right? Like a quick look on or quick overview of what you can do, what you have, what kind of person you are and all that. But ultimately, it's going to be the interview that kills you, right? Because you might get the ticket to the interview, and let's say your resume has very impressive skill set and all that, but when you go to interview, somehow all the skill sets are not visible. You get what I mean? You said you are a person who is outgoing, or or maybe you said you love to talk, you are friendly, but when you go to the interview, somehow you're so timid, you don't know how to talk. It somehow kills you, right? So this is why what we are going to learn today as well, you need to strategize. Don't put things that you can't convince. You get what I mean? The moment you put something that you can't convince people, even if on paper it looks nice, you're going to kill yourself in the interview session, even though that's a ticket to that stage. But I have seen a lot of students who kill their opportunity because of this reason. They put too many impressive things, right? Which they don't really, well, maybe they have a little bit, but they exaggerated it as if they have it, very nice. But when they go for the interview, the interviewer asked them certain things and they couldn't answer and all that, they kill themselves. Because when you go for too many interviews and you got rejected many times, what will happen? You feel very disappointed and you don't feel that you want to go for it anymore. So you have to strategize. You don't just send in everything hoping that you will get, and then you kill yourself. And that's why I said sometimes it's our own mistake in killing ourselves. So you need to do a lot of strategization or strategy, and use a lot of strategy in doing this. Okay, so hopefully, I mean, I'm not going to guarantee you get an interview or get a job, but at least there's some pointers that maybe you can take a look later on. I think you get the whole picture. If I were to put it on word cloud, and you can see here the biggest one, as mentioned just now, skills, right? And probably you realize this if you have applied for internship, right? If you have applied for internship or you have gone through internship, you realize that somehow your education doesn't really matter, right? Whatever courses you have taken, sometimes if you count like out of 20, maybe 5 will be useful. Another 15 are just like put it on paper, on transcript, because the employer will only want that 5 maybe, right? And then another 15 will probably wait for another few years. I personally feel this, right? I know in my first degree, I took TESOL, right? I think the courses that really helped me were all these teaching methods and approaches courses. There are quite a number of courses that I don't really depend on when I go out because they need that practical part, right? Of course, if I venture into, like now, if I'm a lecturer now, then I have to go back to all these other courses so that I can improve or enrich myself. But generally in the working world, they value this a lot. So if you're now in your first year or second year, even I told my students, even in your first year, first semester, you need to have your resume already. You know why? Because resume is a progressive thing. You don't wait until you want to apply for a job and then you get a resume. If you can have it in your first semester, you fill in the blank, you know what I mean? When you have your resume in the first semester, you realize that, okay, I only have this. By the end of fourth year, my resume should be different. It cannot be the same, right? It should be adding on. If your resume looks the same in the first semester until the last semester, something is not right. Something is not happening to you within the 3 or 4 years of study. I teach my students a lot in this sense. You do it progressively. Don't wait until you want to apply for a job, then only you prepare your resume. So those of you who are in your first year or second year, you can start doing it already. Even if it's a bit empty, it's fine, but it's a challenge for you to fill it in. If you know that you don't have skills, then you need to find those skills and put it into your resume. All right? Okay. That's a quick how to put it, like a teaser. Okay, let's go on a bit. Oh yeah, I kind of missed a line, but it's widely used in academia or academic world. You will notice that in academia, they would really require you to provide a curriculum vitae or a CV. But like I said, in Malaysia, even when I did my interview with multinational companies, recently I had one with, Le Copac. You know Le Copac, right? The Upin Ipin company, right? The name I like it because it's actually last kopek, the last chance in Malay, but then they change it to French, le kopak, in a way, like just to make it global. So I recently had a chat with the CEO, and then when I asked them, do you require a detailed resume or CV? They said they don't really care about resume. Just prove us that you can animate. So for those in creative world, if you know how to use certain software to do the animation, you just have to show them the portfolio. They don't need your whatever CGPA or whatever. I mean, some companies are like that. In Petronas, they require a minimum of 3. That's a rule. I don't know what happened, but somehow the board somehow say that if you want to apply for Petronas, your CGPA need to be 3. I'm telling you different requirements in different companies. Sometimes you have to play the game. You need to know what is behind it, then you know what to put into your resume. Okay. I think some of you got it just now. Promotional flyer, a business card. It's a glimpse of everything, but not everything. If you're applying for a position, with high number of job seekers, especially these multinational companies and all that, big companies that have a lot of employees and all that, you probably have only 30 seconds. And these 30 seconds are not judged by human. They are robots or computer. They use software to scan through your resume, and normally it will take less than 30 seconds actually. But if you are doing, if they indeed use human, let's say I'm a HR manager. There are 5 of us, 5 HR executives, right? We were tasked to filter this. And in front of us, we have 20,000 applicants, for example. How on earth do you think we're going to filter one by one, read through your resume one by one? You wouldn't get that, right? So normally they will rely on machine first. Machine will do the first filtering. Machine means they will scan through, or now these days they don't need to scan because you're going to submit online. They will use all the software to scan through, then they will do the second layer. So normally the second layer will probably around hundreds. It will not even reach thousands. Imagine if you have 10,000 applications, narrow down to only hundreds. How many were eliminated, right? That's why sometimes you never get called out for interview because you probably were filtered earlier. This is for high demand jobs. For lower demand jobs, of course, sometimes the boss themselves will filter. Like when I ask, like Opak, for example, the boss will filter themselves because they want to choose the best. So, and normally they say it's very hard to get good animators in Malaysia. They get a lot from Bangladesh and also from Indonesia, surprisingly. So it means there's a demand for good animators in Malaysia, but somehow our universities are not producing good animators. Maybe good on paper, but they are lacking in certain skills. So something like that, some misalignment that we notice. Okay. So why do we need why do we still need a resume when all job applications are online? Right? I think a lot of job applications are online now. You can fill in in many places. In many websites, LinkedIn now also has job application. If you go to JobStreet, if you go to Indeed, there's so many. In Malaysia, you have maukerja.my. You just fill in the details. You don't even need to fill so much as long as you put in the things, and then they will ask you to upload your resume, right? And for civil service, it's even unnecessary in a way. If those of you who have applied for government job or civil servant service job, you will notice that they will never ask you for a resume, right? They will just ask you to fill in the typical form that you get in any application from, when you apply for University UPU, remember you fill in, did they ever ask you for any resume or anything? Never, right? They just ask you to the form, because civil service is one of the most highest demand application. Imagine, thousands of applicants coming in. I don't think they have time to go through your PDF, right? Most likely they will just ask you to fill in like this, and they will still ask you to upload, but then they will use it whenever they need it. But very rare, very, very rare, you will need it. And now they have this My Resume, same thing. This is for SPA, Suruhanjaya Perkhidmatan Awam. Those of you who are applying for government jobs later, you will probably be familiar with this. So what happened is, if you're applying for civil service job, your resume may not be necessary at the point of application, but it is necessary when you're going to attend for the interview, because you need to match whatever you put here. Some people, they fill in differently. They fill in here lain, tapi resume lain. You know what I mean? So when they go for interview, kantoi lah, because you are cheating. So you have to be careful of what you fill in as well, right? So you need to match. Okay. Then this is what I call it in the working world or in the corporate world. They have this thing called ATS. You probably heard this many times. It calls Applicant Tracking System. It's a scanner. So whatever version you have, PDF, now they don't need hard copy. They only require soft copy. So they will scan through your resume and they will identify the keywords. So this is where later on you will notice that the language that you use is important. Don't simply fill in your resume just for the sake of looking beautiful, but the ATS cannot scan it. This is what I'm going to tell you lah, right? Later on. Okay. All right. Any questions so far? I think that's the intro. Maybe no question yet. I didn't see any questions so far. Right, but I will move on to layout first. Layout is one of the people always advise the interview. Yeah. You have to be honest, but it's like this. Even if you are not honest during the interview, it will be visible after that. That is why a lot of people, they got through the interview, but then they couldn't stand the job, or the boss or the employer doesn't want them anymore because of this reason. But anyhow, I think what we learned throughout the years, especially in corporate world, there's never a perfect job. There's never a dream job or a dream working place. All working places or all offices that you have in the world will have its own problem. It's just a matter of how you want to see it, right? You will never get a place where you're going to go happy working all the time. There are times where you're going to be down, and because all are humans, right? And you can't control all the variables. You have to accept this fact, right? No matter how good the boss is, your co-worker may not be that good, right? For example, no matter how co-worker are good, your boss may not be that good. There's always bound to be a lot of problems in the working world. You have to accept that. I kept telling my students as well, never aim for this kind of ideal world of working environment where you won't be able to get. The only way to overcome this is to be your own boss. That's why a lot of because when I handle these startups, they decided to start a startup because they want to be their own boss, hoping that they would create a better working environment, but end up they create a worse working environment for themselves and for the people under them, because it's not easy. Imagine if you're the boss, you have to cope with the financial requirements, you have to cope with the human part and all that. There's so many stress coming in. It's going to be impacting your work, your workers and all that. So you know what I mean? It's easy for us to say when we're down here, but when we are the boss, then we will see a different perspective altogether. So in a working world, you need to balance this. Right, try your best to do your part, and for as long as you can, try to make sure that you check and balance in a way. Like, why do you need this job? Like when I ask my student, why do you need that? I need the money. Then go ahead, go get the money. Don't bother about all this politics or whatever. Just get the money. You know what I mean? Just work and get the money and do your best. Be sustainable as long as you can. But if you're the person who like to dream bigger, you want to go up the ladder and all that, then you have a different goal. You know what I mean? So you need to do a different strategy. So it really depends on your goal and your why. Don't assume that everyone is going to accommodate your why. Not everyone is going to do that. Okay. The layout. Okay, let's set this because I'm sure you have seen many people selling layout resume. I've seen it on Facebook as well. A lot of people are charging to do your resume. If you go to Canva, there are so many templates available. If you Google up resume template, there's just so many templates, and whether you really need that. Okay, is layout important? Layout is important for two reasons. One is to assess clarity, actually, not so much to impress. Even though your job is to impress your potential employer, but it's to improve clarity first. Clarity should always come first. The impressive part can come later, not through the layout or through the design, but more on your skill sets. Imagine if you put one word on top there, able to achieve 10,000 sales in a day. That's more impressive than a beautiful layout. You know what I mean? Because if I'm the marketing manager or I'm a HR, I need this person because this person can actually make 10k sales in a day. Why not? I would get you. I will call you out for interview. I might as well call you now, right? Rather than wait you for the interview. I saw your resume, you can sell 10k per day. Are you sure you can do this? Yeah, bro. Okay, can you come to work tomorrow? Okay. These are the things that you need to pay attention to. Not so much about how beautiful the layout is, right? Okay. But the survey, this paper, and also cross-check with our, with our own research. It's true. People formal. The creative one is more relevant to the creative industries. If you're in graphic design, in all this art and all that, you need to show a bit of creativity because that would give that, because you're selling it to a creative employer. People with creative minds, they view things differently. So they may not prefer too formal. They might want a bit of creativity in your layout, right? I've seen one person who applied, was it Spotify? Yeah, there's this Malaysian trying to apply for a Spotify position for Spotify Malaysia because they were recruiting the other day. So the resume matches the Spotify color scheme, with the green and all that. So it was quite nicely done, but it's not so creative like too many graphic, but the color scheme matches it. So I think that would be one way. Like if you're applying for AirAsia, for example, even though these days not many people want to work with AirAsia, but if you apply for AirAsia, you probably go for red color, right? You probably go for red color, the red because of the branding. If you're applying for Petronas, then you probably go for the Petronas green, they call it, right? Something like that. It's a psychological thing because you need to fit in. But actually, in a proper sense, red color for resume is not that good because it's too how to put it, too fiery. Because how to put it, it makes your resume stand out, one thing, but if your content doesn't stand out, it will kill you in that sense because it's not really calming. But for branding purposes, if you're applying for a certain brand like Asia is fine. What I mean, if you're sending for any other companies, don't go for red. The safest color is always blue. Any shades of blue will be fine because it's calming and you don't highlight yourself. Imagine if I see a stack of resume and then yours is red. I'm going to pay attention to yours, right? Your red color stand out, right? Then I will go for yours, and then when I read your details, so nothing much. Then your resume will be the first one to be kicked out because you are, even though the stack of blue probably will have similar skill set, but they are not that stand out. They are not that like what you said here, blinding. Yeah. So probably you're still okay, right? Okay, but these are some color schemes. These are some samples that you try to avoid. Don't do this. Too creative, but then very messy as well because it's very hard to follow even though you try to be creative, but then it's not really a good thing. If you're applying for something fun, it's fine. If you're applying for something fun, something you're applying for some maybe some like a conference volunteer, like if you are going for a how to put it, like a comic conference or something, then fine, right? And this one, it looks formal, but then it's not really good because of the center alignment. It's messy. All right, this is going to be messy because it's very hard to read as well because of the alignment in the middle. It's like your eyes ni kena juling sikit, like go to the center. We go by the language, of course, right? In our language, if you're using Roman alphabet, of course, we read from left to right, right? If you're using Chinese, maybe it's a bit tricky because it could be top to bottom, right to left, left to right. Yeah, because Chinese can read from all angles depending on how you write it, right? And for if you're writing in Arabic or Jawi, then it will be from right to left, things like that. So it depends on the language that you use, but normally left, right? Left align at least. You can justify if you want to, but I don't encourage justify because in ATS machine, when you justify your resume, it become their gap, right? Some words will be having bigger gaps, and the ATS machine will detect those gaps as a separate word. So it will not treat you as like for example, if you are English translation, if you're doing an English translation, these two words should be together, right? English translation with a single space. Now, if you have double space for that two words, the machine will read it as English and translation, two separate words. You get what I mean? Because the machine will not be that intelligent to eliminate all these gaps. They will treat you as a two different words. So you have to be careful. So your keyword may not be read as English translation. So you'll probably end up in a pile of English and translation. This is just an extreme example. So you have to be careful with the spacing as well. I kept telling my students, check your typo, check your spacing, because that would affect the machine readability as well, right? That is why in most job portals, they don't want you to upload. They want you to fill in the boxes because that helps you actually. A lot of this platform like LinkedIn and all this, even Mau-Kerja, they help you because they eliminate all this possibility. Like when they detect certain typo in your word, they will tell you, right? Or they will in your browser, sometimes they will underline and things like that. Or sometimes some good companies or like good job portals, they will actually advise you to change the words and all that because they are helping you. If you upload your PDF, it's fixed. It's very hard for them to edit, right? It's even worse if you upload in JPEG. Some people, they are too creative. They do it in Photoshop, with all this fancy logo and everything, and then it's very hard to edit, right? And it's not readable. Okay, this is clean, formal. This is a very typical, on the left is a very typical resume look, right? With a handsome guy. And I mean, this is like a typical layout. And if you notice, the name is always big. This is my advice to students as well. Make your name bigger. You need to be remembered by the name, not just by the face. So as much as you can, your name should be the most visible one. You know why? Because if you have a pile of resume in front of you, I want to remember your name. So if your name is too small, then people will go like, what's the name again? What's the name again? That guy with a black tie just now. You get what I mean? And then there are so many people with black tie. And then they miss you out. So make sure your name is clear, right? It's quite critical. This is more like creative industry. You will see a lot of pictures. Not advisable to use logo or pictures because these are not machine readable. Machine readables are like this, all the words one, right? Even your skill set, try not to do like this. Very famous these days. I saw a lot of students do this. They put logo and then they put the skill set. What does it mean actually? If you see this Adobe Illustrator and then you put bar like this, is it good or bad? Generally, you would think it's good, right? But what's the difference between full and not full, right? How do you differentiate between this half full and not so half full? You know what I mean? So instead of putting it in a bar like this, might as well you describe what you can do. I am an advanced certified user of Adobe Illustrator. That's a better word than just a bar like this. You get what I mean? Right? So these are the things that you have to pay attention. I know it looks good, looks impressive, but then sometimes it's unnecessary. This is more for, again, creative industries. You can go for this type if you're applying for a company which is quite small and medium, like the employee size is not so big. Startups or some company who is limiting their less than 50 or maybe less than 100, I think still okay. But if you're applying for any company which is bigger, don't waste your time doing this. because they will not go through it one by one anyway. In fact, some HR will throw this out because it's like wasting the time, because they're going to ask you, okay, you said AI like this, what do you mean? Yeah, what do you, you know, you might as well just describe it earlier. Okay, these are the things that HR people will tell you. Even if you go to even if you go to all this YouTube, if you search for resume tips, and you will get more or less the same tips that I'm giving you now, because they will advise you to go away from this kind of design. Simplicity is not always better, but simplicity is the key for clarity, right? But I will tell you what it means by simplicity. Not simplicity, not like one word lah, you know, you have to describe a bit, but not like one word thingy. Like if you put a skill set, Adobe Illustrator, good. What is good? That's too simple, right? Too simple. But simplicity is the first step of enhancing clarity, which I will explain further in a bit. Okay, so what do recruiters or employers look for in your resume? Right, this is a rhetorical question. They will look for some of these are, I love this study. It was done in 2020. It kind of resonates to a lot of whatever I have reviewed so far, even in our own research, and also if you go to again, YouTube or internet resources, you will find more or less the same thing. First thing, the format. There's this misconception that it has the one-page rule. If you notice here, more than half actually say more than one page is acceptable. It's a wrong concept to begin with. So whoever tells you that your resume should be only one page is not true, right? But if you have nothing to put in one page, then don't kill yourself putting 4 pages. You got what I mean? Some students, they have nothing much to put in one page, but they want to spread it out to 4 pages. I was like, what are you going to do with the 4? It looks so blank, right? So if you're normally for first year student, or, you know, for when you grow to your, you know, graduating years, or maybe when you're applying for your first job, 1 or 2 pages will be sufficient. Not because of the pages, it's because they have nothing much to show. That's why they will say 1 or 2 pages, because you have nothing much to show, right? Imagine if you have worked for like 4 or 5 years. 1 or 2 pages will not be enough, right? You need to highlight more things. So you may need more than 2. So sometimes you will get resume in 2 pieces of paper, which means 4 pages. Because 1 piece of paper, you have 2 pages, right? So, and then another piece of paper will be another page. So maximum is about 4. So don't go for 1 page only. In fact, if you have been working for quite some time, or if you have graduated for some time, you may realize that 1 page only, it's an indicator that you have not done so much, right? Even these days, after the pandemic, what I realize is, because you're competing with a lot of people now, and you're not competing with fresh graduates, you're competing with retrenched workers, you're competing with people who want to switch jobs, you're competing with a lot of people who lose their job. You're not competing among fresh graduates, and you will notice that a lot of companies will go for those people first because they have the experience, right? So I've been telling my students as well, while you're waiting for this, don't waste your time. Get whatever job you can. Fill up your resume from 1 page to 2 pages, at least. Because if you still have 1 page of content after maybe 1 or 2 years of graduation, something is not right. You will go even longer. I mean, you will wait even longer, because these people who are, you know, being retrenched and all that, maybe your seniors who worked for only 1 year got retrenched or got, you know, during the pandemic. Now they're back to the job market. They have more pages. You know what I mean? So it's a psychological thing. So you might want to make it 2 pages. In fact, there's a strategy to do this later. So instead of using this kind of template just now with the site, you might want to expand a bit and make it look like a 2-page thing. So my advice to you for fresh graduate, minimum 2 pages. Aim for that. Aim for that 2 pages. Don't just be comfortable with 1 page. All right? That is a psychological thing. What I notice is it's quite true. Because if you ask a lot of the HR manager, they will tell you 1 page seems too simple and too short, nothing much to deal on, you know, to deal with. And another reason is, the reason why you put everything in 1 page is because you use a lot of logos and all this. You're not describing it. The moment you describe it out, you will notice that 1 page is not enough, because you need to tell people what you are able to do, right? So you need to describe it a bit. Okay, later on we'll talk about that. Functional resume. Functional resume, it's always good. Focus on the skills. But some people say never seen it. Applicant can use it. But functional as in you list by function of the jobs, which is like the positioning and all that. So not really important. What is more important these days is skills. So as a fresh graduate, your education can come in the first part, no problem. But because you don't have much experience, what you need to put after your education should be your skills. Experience comes later. If you have experience, then experience will move up. Even even if you work part-time, even if you work volunteer, you can move it up. If you notice that your experience had none, zero, or only internship, or 3 months or 12-week internship, then that can go down. Skills should go up. But the problem is, skill pun tara, and then experience pun tara, you know what I mean? So that's the problem. And then you don't know what to put into your resume. Later on, we'll try to overcome this kind of problem, okay? Objective statement, yeah, career objective. I know you learn in some courses or even online, you see people that you must put a career objective. You don't need it. Career statements or objective statements is more relevant if you're applying for a promotion, if you're applying for, if you have worked for some years, you want to switch jobs. That objective statement will add clarity to why are you applying for this job. If you are a fresh graduate, your objective is the same. You want to get a job, right? You want to get the money. And you don't have to put this, people say BS about, I want to help the company lah, I want to grow with the company lah, I want to add value to the company. Those are all BS, you know what I mean? Don't need to put it in. In fact, a lot of HR don't even read if you're fresh graduates, because it doesn't reflect anything. The moment you look at your the moment they look at your skills will be more impressive. But if you're switching job, next time after 1 or 2 years you decide to switch different field, or you don't want to work in a company anymore, this will be helpful in explaining that. Like previously you were in let's say you were in corporate world, and then now you decided to join education. You want to work in a private school. It's a complete switch, right? So your objective statement will tell me why are you making this switch. That will be helpful. But for fresh graduate, you don't really need it. In fact, a lot of these are all they don't really need it. I know you learn it. It's fine to learn, but it doesn't mean that you have to use it. Learning and using is two different things. References. This is also misconception. You don't list references when you're. In fact, you don't need the references unless it's specifically told in the advertisement, or in the platform. It actually asks you for references. Normally they don't, right? Because the best reference is you. Even if you put my name there, for example, I have known you for 3 years, I can help you by talking all the sweet things about you, but ultimately it's you. You get what I mean? So all companies don't depend on this. They normally will ask you to put references if you're applying for certain jobs that they need verification. For example, your academic credential. This is for like I told you just now, civil service. If you're applying for become lecturers, they may need references just to verify whether it's true that you are studying in these universities, or you have applied your PhD in this, blah blah blah, that kind of thing, right? But normally, if you notice in all this job application, it's very rare for you to see this, right? In fact, they will only ask you after they are impressed with your resume. You get me? So they will ask you to list. So you can put here available upon request. So you save one spot there. Your resume, you have one extra spot to save. You don't have to put the references. Before I go further, some people may be a bit confused. What do you mean by references? Dia pergi letak APA references kat sana pula. References, not book references, semua tu ya. References are referee. Some people call it referee. People that can help you kind of verify certain things. Don't put your family members. Don't put any conflict of interest, like your father is a CEO of this company and then you put your father's name there. It's not advisable. That's why we don't really put. But unless it's told, right? You can put your mentor, or in some music they call it academic advisor. That could be one, because your academic advisor should know you. If your academic advisor don't know you, then don't put him or her. Someone who knows you, like what you do, whatever you're involved in. And also your previous employer. If you work in a company, like during internship, the boss knows you well, the HR manager knows you well, and it's still at the company, then you can put them in, because these are a reference point that can kind of sell you. I've received a lot of phone call as well from my for my students. Sometimes they call randomly and then just to check whether this student is good. But very rare, to be honest, very rare, very rare. The most they will do, they will email you, right? The most they will do, they will email you. Okay, hobbies and interests do not include. Your hobbies and interest doesn't interest them at all. Because these are all things that you do at the pastime. You don't have to put, unless your hobbies are actually your skill set. So don't put it as hobby, put it as skills. You're good in music, don't put it as hobby, put it as a skill, right? You know what I mean? There's something wrong with our student. They put a lot of things that they like as hobby. What you like can be your skills, right? You love to play badminton. If you're really good at playing badminton, that should be a skill set, not a hobby. You get what I mean? If you're applying for a job related to that, if you're applying for a translation job, your badminton skill may not be helpful. You get what I mean? Unless the company requires it. But what I mean here is whatever interests you have, whatever hobbies you have, change it into your skills. Computer skills, this is quite critical these days, if you notice here. But don't list all generic software unless told. Some advertisement will tell you, candidate must be able to use Microsoft Excel, blah, blah, blah. Then all those things, you need to have it, right? You need to make sure you have it, like whatever software they want it. So you need to put it in, right? Advanced and field-specific software. The generic one, let's say, able to use Google Chrome, no need. Able to connect to the internet, no need. Able to operate a mobile phone, no need. Those are all generic skills. Even though not everyone knows it, it's very hard to guarantee that everyone knows it, but at least those are generic skills. Right? Skill summary. Avoid subjective phrases like hard worker. Yeah, this is something that we told our students a lot, many times. Do not use adjectives. Use verbs. If you say you're a hard worker, what is so hard about you? Right? What are you able to do? Put the do statement rather than the adjective statements like all these abstract words. Hard worker. Some people work 3 hours a day, but hard. Some people work 1 hour pun hard kan, because your capability is different. Some people work 12 hours a day, don't feel anything, right? So because it's so subjective. But if you put that, able to work 12 hours non-stop, I will hire you immediately because you say you can work 12 hours non-stop. You get what I mean? That sounds better than a hard worker, okay? Yeah, some people try to play with the bombastic words, resilient and whatnot. Those are abstract words that cannot be translated into something quantifiable, like a do statement. Okay, coursework. Yeah, a lot of people miss this. This is why your resume can be 2 pages. Coursework here means whatever courses that you have taken which are relevant to the job, you can put it in. Right, you can see here, 50, more than 50. In fact, only include if relevant. So if you add on 21, and it's quite a lot. So only 6 of them said no, do not include. Coursework is like this. Let's say you are applying to become an interpreter, right? You are in English language, in translation studies or something, right? You have taken so many courses, right? Like I said just now, maybe only 5 are related to translation. So you can list that, in your course of study, these are the courses that you have taken and you have scored excellent, obtained excellent score or whatever, because it will be reflected in your transcript anyway. But you highlight those courses. Like if you're teaching, right? If you're applying for a teaching post in a private school, you have taken so many teaching courses as well, right? But not everything is teaching. So you highlight those related ones, teaching methodology or something, teaching reading or something. So that would be helpful. Include it. Coursework is like that. Or if you are doing your final year project, there will be coursework as well. If it's relevant, right? If it's not relevant, then don't put it in. If you're applying to become a cashier in a supermarket, then those are not really necessary. But if you have taken some business knowledge before that could be helpful. Okay, internship always include, right? Again, relevant, but in your case, in Malaysian context, internship always include, right? Even if you don't really do much during internship, but put it in because that would be your first experience in a way. For most people, that would be your first working environment experience. Even though during the pandemic, a lot of people actually did their internship virtually. They never get the feel of being at the office, being able to mingle with co-workers, but put it in. Volunteer work, only include if relevant, but for your case, for Malaysian context, put it in. If you have volunteered to be in any NGOs or any association, any society in universities or outside university, just put it in, because this will be something to fill up your 2 pages. This is why I told you need to make sure it's 2 pages, because you need to put in all these things. Don't underestimate this. A lot of people underestimate this in this sense. Like, you apply for job A, right? And this HR manager saw your volunteer work. Oh, you are good in this. I can offer you another post. You never know. You apply for job A, you get job B because of all these things. Don't kill yourself by limiting it in the resume from the beginning, right? You need you need to try to strategize your content. Student leadership always include, because this would be added value as well. Leadership as in, you don't have to wait until you become the president or holding big posts. No, leadership as in, if you have taken charge of any program, right, event, become the secretary or even committee member, exco member, that is counted under leadership, just to show that you have been involved in some of the activity. But this will not be relevant after 2 years of your graduation. Maybe still okay, but after 2 years, like if you've been working for 2-3 years, maybe this is no longer relevant, because your experience at the workplace will be more valuable. So this is why I say your resume is a progressive thing. It's not something fixed. You need to change it according to time, right? Okay, and then some basic on the layout. Use standard A4. Do not try to be fancy. Use some, smaller size lah. You want to be fancy. Do some wedding card style, or some bigger style or big one. Don't. You know why? Because most HR will use A4. In fact, they want it to be standardized, easier to keep. If your size is smaller, you're squeezed in between, your resume will be gone maybe. If your resume is too big, they probably throw yours out first because yours is too big, right? They will just look at it, okay, no, pop out, okay, something like that, because they want it to be standardized. But I think these days you don't really need the paper format, because you don't have to print it out. But still, use A4. You can see a lot of standard A4 or letter size. In US, they call it letter, slightly longer in terms of the length, but it's still A4 paper. The size. Neat and professional layout. Font types. Always go for this sans serif. Sans serif means no cursive. Please do not use Times New Roman. That's so like assignment kind of stuff. Times New Roman is so old school. Don't use it. At least use Arial, Verdana. Calibri is still fine, but Arial and Verdana is quite useful, because Times New Roman, all these cursive or serif types of font, when you go for machine like ATS, sometimes it's going to be disturbing to the scanning part. So you need to go for all these sans serifs. Font size 10 to 12, not too big. 12 point maybe maximum, but not too small, not too big. Don't use bigger than 12 point. Too big. When you have psychologically on a piece of paper, if you see A4 like this, with font size 13 or 14, it feels like you have nothing much to say. So you're going to enlarge your font. You know what I mean? Psychology, it means you have nothing much to say. But if you do it like this, if you can see here, looks nice, right? I mean, in a way, it looks neat. And then you have quite a lot of things to say and quite impressive in a way. But this is, of course, if you have a lot to say. If you have nothing much, then don't exaggerate, okay? Use proper heading. This is also key. Use proper heading. And the proper heading should always matches the thing that they want, like skills, education. Don't change all this. You don't like education, you change it to what? Learning experience. Don't do that. You don't like the word skills, so you put their competence. Don't. Use the standard word, because it's going to help the HR manager or even the machine to detect it easily. Don't use some fancy word just because you don't like it, all right? Or just because you want it to be different from the rest, okay? Maximum 3 colors if you prefer colors, right? I will go for 2, but 3 will be fine, but not too many. Not too many, colors. Unless you're applying for creative industry kind of job, it will be fine, okay? These are the standard one, like education, experience, skills, achievement. But competency and activity will be fine, but skills, I prefer skills. These are the 4 parts. The main part, The rest you can add in your contact or whatever you want, but these are the main part. Okay, optional, I put here career objective, like up here, you don't need it actually. Profile also, you don't really need. And references also optional. Okay. Okay, some key points based on the sharing just now. Photo. So I think somebody asked just now maybe, but I'll go through here. Optional, but get a professional shot. Sorry. Don't use your selfie. This is also not so nice unless you're applying for, this is fine because web designer, graphic designer, okay. But if you're applying for some formal one, get a professional one. I mean, you don't need to go to studio. Just, wear something professional or something neat and formal and just take it nicely on using your phone. Don't go for the one just now. The one, like a Friendster style kind of thing. Why I say optional? Because a lot of companies actually do not require it. All right. So if you think you are not sure about your employer, you are not sure how diverse they are, in terms of how inclusive they are, then you can take up the photo. You know why? After all, they will search you anyway. They will find you. They will try to find you online, even if you don't put photo. Like if I don't put my photo on my resume, people will still search my name and try to dig out all my photos. You know what I mean? So that's why I think photo is no longer important. But if you want to sell yourself immediately, then it's okay to put one, right? Because I say this because a lot of my students say, saya, I'm not handsome, I'm not pretty, so I don't want to put my photos there. Is it okay? Fine, if you don't want, but unless it's required. Sometimes they put it in the requirement. Candidate must include a passport size photo or something. If they put it in, then you have to put it in, right? Again, name should be bigger and always on top. Never change your name to the side or put it on top. I think this will be the best position in the middle, right? Use proper heading again. And always use chronological order. Chronological order means the latest one first. The descending order. Not ascending, descending chronological order. Put the latest one and then go down. So your education, for example, put the university degree and then maybe your SCPM or matriculation. And SPM. But no need UPSR, all this, no need. PT3 if you're there, no need. Because those are not important anymore. In fact, I would just put degree. And unless it's requirement with SPM, because some company they want to see whether you have STPM or SPM, then you put it in. If not, then degree will be sufficient. Right? For that. This one. The one I told you just now. Try not to do this. Try to describe. Later, second part will be on this. Don't put it like this. I don't know why people love this. So when I see this, for example, Photoshop, what do you mean here? We have a little bit no. So are you sure are you good or really good or you know what I mean? What's the difference between? It's like telling me a 3.99 is worse than a 4. Are they the same in terms of, you know what I mean? You get 4 flat. This person get 3.99. So you're saying this 3.99 is worse than the 4? You get my point? You get 2.98 and this person get a 3. So 2.98 is worse than a 3? Just a matter of 0.02. You get what I mean? It's very hard to quantify this kind of skill set. It's better to tell people what you can do rather than using all this artificial kind of labeling. Okay? Social profile is important. For fresh graduate, I would prefer you be bold and be confident and share your social profile. But share the professional one. The private one, keep them private. Your Facebook, for example, if you're full of private stuff, then don't share. Don't share and then argue, oh, this company actually did on my Facebook. You share the link, right? So don't put it in. Your Twitter is even worse because it's more open than Facebook. If you don't want people to read your tweets, then just protect it, right? Or just limit to certain people. LinkedIn is a must-have. LinkedIn is a must-have because that will be a professional platform. If you have a Facebook, you can create another page. I have a lot of students who create another page just for the sake of job application. So the personal one will be personal for friends and family. Another one will be for corporate use, like like application and all that. So it can be done. References, optional. But I put here good to include at least one if you have one. But for your case, fresh graduate, you can put your academic advisor. If you are not sure, then don't put. And also, whenever you apply for anything, you need to alert the reference. Don't just send your resume without alerting the referee. You know what I mean? Like you send for this job, you don't tell me, I don't know, and this HR suddenly call me. or I don't pick up the phone at all because I see some wrong number and all that, you'll lose the job because or you assume your academic advisor knows you after graduating for like if you have graduated for 2-3 years, I probably have forgotten you and you didn't send a refresher, like a new copy of your resume and all that. I don't know what to say, right? And when this person calls, do you know there's Nurul Izzah? Not who is Nurul Izzah? I have so many Nurul Izzah in my life. So which one are you referring to? Oh, this one from this school. I'm not sure. You know what I mean? So when there's a lot of hesitation there, your reference will kill you. You get what I mean? So you need to make sure. That's why don't put. Yeah, if you're not sure, then don't put. Or if you're going to put, make sure you put the confident one. The people who really, really knows you, that knows you by name, right? Okay. These are just sample. Use professional short, but then try to use one tone background, right? One tone background. Don't how to put it? Don't use the extreme background like different color and all that. And also, how to put it? Put a bit of makeup. Don't put your face like you just woke up from a sleep, that kind of look, because you're gonna be on your resume or that. So make it professional. Okay. All right. So before we go to the third part now, language. Any question? Let me see whether if I have any question. Any did I miss? Question from register. Oh yeah.
Questions from the chat box actually.
Yeah. I saw the first one, right? Do Malaysia adopt NTF? Yes, for big companies. For in fact, either big companies or companies that hire recruitment companies. All the job portals, LinkedIn, JobStreet, Mau-Kerja and all that, they have ATS system, but they are not using the conventional scanning one. They use it through web version. So what happened is whatever you put in this, whatever you put in all those platforms, it will be scanned. You think the people actually go through your resume? No, it's all the system. That's why the system will filter it first. Let's say they put it there, minimum 2 years experience, right? You have no 2 years experience. You fit in the form, you will say you have no experience. Automatically yours will be rejected. It's not done by human, it's done by the machine because it's part of the requirement set by the employer. So ATS can be in the form of scanning version or the web version. Just that is why for a start, another strategy for fresh graduate, if you're not so confident after trying all these multinational companies, you can try for no harm, just try, send. But after like a while, after 6 months or 1 year, you don't get any reply, it actually tells you maybe you should try some smaller company first. Some SME, smaller company, start off something first. Don't go straight to the multinational company. The big companies are what I'm saying. Unless you got your luck, you will call for interview quite fast, then it's fine. But I can tell you, even those with good grades and even good result, they wait quite some time because they need the experience. Imagine if you wait after 1 year, you get no jobs yet. By the time you go for the second year, people have 1 year experience already, right? Those who start from a small company, they have 1 year experience already. Yours is still zero because you're still waiting, right? So that you have to strategize in that sense. But when I say any small job, it doesn't mean that you have to apply for like become cashier or go for Food Panda or Grab, all the time. You can do that as a source of income, no harm. But you have to think as well, another job which is going to be in your resume, right? So while waiting for your job to come in with the first 6 months, for example, you can take this job for income sources and all that. But you need to start seriously thinking about some position at least after 6 months. So you have to be serious already. Cannot be after 1 year baru not serious. In fact, 6 months is already like your honeymoon is over lah. Honeymoon is over after 6 months, because you have to think by the time you start next year, people with a job is already have another +1. You still have 0. You have to think like that. If you think like that all the time, then you will realize that, okay, I have to start now. I cannot start and keep on waiting and waiting and waiting. And when I say small and medium company, means a company that maybe will not offer you a degree pay. Like you could be an administrative job position first, but it's in a company with a paid job, monthly payment. It's fine because you get 1 year experience at least, or a few months of experience. You get what I mean? That would be helpful, right? So Yeah, but if you're lucky within the 6 months you hit a multinational company job, then go for it, right? Go for it. And then this is why sometimes a lot of students bila dah 6 bulan tak dapat kerja, you know what they think? Apply for masters and postgraduate kan? Because that's like an escape route. I'm not saying that it's wrong. It's fine, but you have to be clear what you want actually. Is the master or postgraduate route is your choice, because after that, after 2 years, those people who have been working, they get another 2 years in their resume. You are still studying. Then by the time you came up in the job market, these people may be 3 or 4 years ahead of you in terms of experience, right? So if you are not realistic about your masters or your whatever you are taking, after that will add value to your whatever you're applying, then you are backtracking. That's why ada yang habis master, dia tiba-tiba apply balik kerja yang sepatutnya dia apply masa dia degree. They're applying for SPM job, STPM job. Kan, it's a bit backtracking, right? Because some people will say, it's fine if you have nothing much to lose. Then it's okay. Like, you are not in a rush to get a high income pay, you are not in a rush to support your family. Then it's fine. But a lot of people after the pandemic realize, even after masters and all that, they are in a better, they are not in a better financial position. In fact, ada yang berhutang lagi banyak because study pun kena duit juga. It's not totally free, right? Things like that. So you have to think about that carefully. It's not about just escaping that I call it 6 month working escape route. After 6 months ni dia akan start lah fikir nak masters ke tak. Before dia tak fikir lagi, because after 6 months is the time where you start to be panic. You start to panic. Alright. Template to use for resume, should we include photo? I just answered that. Okay. It's okay if you don't. In fact, like I said, even if you don't, people will search for you. If they're impressed with your resume, they will search for you. Unless it's told, by the way. The requirement kadang-kadang dia akan letak, sila letak, photo, put in the photo, then you have to put. What else? Dr. Nadia ada. Okay, 1 page resume. Yeah. It's 1 to 2 page idea for fresh graduate. But normally, like I said, after the pandemic, I realized 1 page may not be enough. You have to think ahead in a way, like at least 1.5 page, meaning still 2 pages lah. Try to fill up 2 pages. Okay. Do we still need references if we're not in better? Yeah, don't put. I mean, don't put references that will kill you. The point of putting references is to seek some support, right? But if you put your previous company there in your resume, because you're going to put it in your experience section, right? You don't need to put the references, because if the HR is serious about that, they will call up the previous company anyway. They will not ask you to put the references. They will call the company immediately, right? Let's say you're applying for Petronas, you work with Shell before, and you list all the things about Shell, blah, blah, blah. You work this impressive resume, with all the skill set with Shell. I'm sure the HR manager from Petronas will call up Shell. Betul ke ni, dia ni, buat ni. You don't have to put it in your references, right? Because they know how to communicate. HR managers, they know what to work for. But if you're a fresh graduate, it's good to put your academic advisor, someone who can support you in a way, like just give you a little bit push, a little push, right, to prove some of your credentials. But it's not really compulsory. For student leadership part, can we include that we have experienced a better? Yeah. This is a good point. Group project and assignment. Yes, assignment or group project can, as long as it's a proper group project, not like a small assignment or something. Like, like. I'm sure in some of your courses you have a longer period, like a long project. It could be like, now you have Sulam, like this service learning kind of stuff. You have to work project with the community and all that. That could be part of your resume as well, right? It doesn't have to be like you are in a society and whatnot. It could be part of the course, but it's a project that you lead, right? So you can put it in. Does part-time work in any kind of job should be? Yes, for fresh graduate. For fresh graduate, you have no opportunity to negotiate this. I told my student, you jadi cashier in part-time pun letaklah sajalah. It means you are doing something. Okay, like this. If you're a fresh graduate, I get your resume. When I see the experience part, nothing, 0. Or maybe internship. Then this guy, part-time cashier, part-time, McD and all that. I can see that within 6 months after graduation, this guy is trying his his best to get some job. I would give this guy a chance rather than this one without anything. You get me? It gives an impression that you're not doing anything to kind of fill up your experience. You get me? I mean, apart from your skill set lah. So this would be like your added advantage if you have. For fresh graduate, you have don't even think about it. Just put, right? But if you want to be selective, if you're applying for maybe a better job, so if you have worked many odd jobs, then pick the one that highlight the best skills. This is where it's not sufficient just by putting part-time cashier. You need to tell me what you do that actually highlights your skill set there. There must be something that you did in that company during your time as a part-time cashier that highlights your credential or your skills. Okay. Oh yeah, I got this question a lot. Last week when I had one with the UiTM student. If we have our own business, can we include them in resume? Don't include if it's conflicting. Conflicting as in you apply kerja, but then it's like conflicting to your own company. Like macam, how to put it? It's like you have your own business already, so you don't need a job kind of thing. Some people they sell your business tu dalam resume tu macam dia dah buat sale banyak. Then why are you applying for this job? You get me? It's like killing yourself. If you own a small business, then you can say run a small business from home. The way you word it have to be careful. You get me? Ada yang letak founder Izzah Cosmetic. Woi, nama gempak. People then you apply for this job as a marketing. Then you dah ada jadi founder, Why are you applying for this job? You get me? So you don't kill yourself by overselling. This is the problem with a lot of our fresh graduates. I know your generation, all this millennial mindset, Gen Y mindset, dia nak jadi boss. Tak apa, no problem. But when you are applying for a job, you are actually submitting yourself to become subordinate. You are not the boss. You get what I mean? Unless you want to be, you are applying for a position where you are the manager lah. A different case lah. But you have to be careful, right? So I would not put. In fact, kadang-kadang baik kita diam pasal business kita sebab we can still do our business senyap-senyap. If you put it on resume, then the boss will say during interview ke apa, dia kata, oh you dah ada business, tak payahlah bagi gaji tinggi. You know what I mean? Sometimes it kills yourself. You get what I mean? Right? Don't kill yourself by putting things that is unnecessary. Just keep it buat senyap-senyap. You jual apa ke? You jual kerepek sampai beribu sebulan. But don't tak payah jaja. Keep it to yourself, right? Keep it to yourself. Because the moment you jaja and then the boss say, tak payahlah bagi gaji 2,000, you 1,500 cukup lah. Because you dah gaji 3,000 jual kerepek. You know what I mean? You're killing yourself. Okay. What is the perfect color for resume design? Not really perfect. I would say always go for the cold color. Blue. Blue is, if you ask anyone, shades of blue will be fine. That's the safest color, shades of blue, right? Yeah. I think to think carefully before deciding. Yep. Betul. Is it okay we don't have it's okay if you don't have any working experience. Don't feel sad, alright? Don't feel sad. Okay, we'll go for that part. Okay, we'll go for the language part on how to overcome this part when you don't have working experience. I know. I mean, I have a lot of students like that as well. After graduating, bila dia dah habis baru sedar. Resume dia macam they want to fill in but nothing to fill in. Macam it's like after spending 3-4 years at universities, macam doing nothing much apart from passing the exam and all that. So that's why I told you if you are serious about improving your career profile, you should be looking at your resume from year 1, semester 1. Then you will know what to fill in. You will join this, you will join that, and all that because you know that you need to fill in your resume, right? And to improve your skill sets. Okay, let's go for this part first because it will touch on some of the question that you mentioned just now. And what is the most difficult part to write in your resume? I believe it will be the experience part because that is the one that you lack a lot. A lot of student ada yang experience, contoh part-time cashier, dia pekerja McD and then, ataupun dia jadi food rider, but they don't know how to write it. So chances are they will put June 2021 to June 2022 rider and food panda or something like that, just like that, without any description of what they do. Whatever job you do, for a fresh graduate, whatever jobs you do, keep a good log of most of the important things. Jangan kata your life as a cashier ni boring jadi cashier. Mesti ada certain incident or certain event throughout your period of time as a worker there. You deal with something which is different or something that train you to be good at something. Kan, mungkin you jadi cashier. Sebelum ni tak pernah guna pun POS system, right? Point of sale system. You have never used a point of sale system before. Because you work as a cashier, you know how to operate a point of sale system. You know how to close your account. You know how to do balancing. Nampak tak lain sikit dah daripada you just letak dia part-time cashier? This skill set, if you apply for job, I would want you because I need people who can do this. Kena cara nak close sale, cara nak buat balancing account and all that. You get what I mean? It's not just about part-time cashier, it's the skills that you learn throughout the process. A lot of students, a lot of graduates, they miss this. I jadi lecturer, kalau I letak lecturer saja, memang tak nampak lah lecturer buat apa. Tapi kalau I start listing what lecturer did, you'll be amazed. Banyaknya ni buat. You get what I mean? Buat ni, buat tu. That's why we don't see this thing, because if we just label everything as a vocation or as a occupation sahaja, kita kena go for the do statement. So, nanti kalau yang belum kerja ni, if you have never worked before, bila you dah start kerja, keep a good log. You tak perlu buat diary, tak apalah. Tak payah dia diary, tak apa. Today, my log, tak payah. Keep a good log of anything that you learned. You need to know that you have learned something. Different malls will use different point of sale system. Some ada yang guna sistem lain, Ada yang dia link dengan e-wallet lah, apalah, and then the boss suddenly ask you to change the e-wallet punya requirement. You tak pernah buat. But you learn something throughout the process, walaupun you are just a cashier. So, you put it in your resume. Okay? Manages the e-wallet system, blah, 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 blah. Kan dah lain sikit bunyi dia daripada part-time cashier. You know what I mean? Focus on those skills that you learn throughout the process. Macam food rider pula. Recently, I talked to quite a number of fresh graduate yang jadi food rider. So, I asked them, what did you learn from this process? To my surprise, I think majority will just say just hantar barang sahajalah, sir, just hantar lah ni. Actually, they learn a lot of skills. You learn how to deal with the customers punya behaviour, kan? Deal with customer behaviour. Ada yang perangai lain-lain, ada yang suruh you bayar dulu, you tak ada duit. So how do you do this kind of thing? So you will do like proper account statement at the beginning of the day, and then you close your account by the end of the ride. All these things you tak tulis. You just letak kat sana, rider, food panda. You get what I mean? Your skills are more important, that you learn are more important than the job title tu. So focus on the skills. So just because you jadi food rider, when you list out everything, you like, banyaknya I buat sebenarnya. There's so many things I have to deal with. I have to learn how to communicate with customers. Ada yang jadi food rider tapi tak pandai nak bercakap. Benar kan? Hey, makanan sampai. You get what I mean? You get what I mean or not? But if you throughout the riding, you learn how to communicate and all that, there will be something added value. I mean, I'm sure you have seen some who are really good, right? I've seen some who are really, dia jadi food rider tu macam very professionally done, siap ada notification dah sampai, and then bila dah sampai dia greet you dulu, dia kata okay, this is your food, enjoy your meal and all that. Kan these are the things that you practice, and all this kind of professionalism, if you practice in your job, whatever job you have, it's going to be shown in your resume. Kan jangan letak just part time and all that. Sayang, okay. Okay, that's why I don't put all these abstract words, best of the breed lah, go-getter lah, a person who think outside the box lah, this day tak ada box pun, and then dynamic lah, all these things, no need. Just go straight for what you can do. What have you done? What have you achieved? Whatever you have done, like masa you jadi cashier, ada dispute, a few cases that you deal with, you handle the dispute cases yang customer kata dia nak refund tapi actually proven wrong or something. You say resolve customer disputes regarding refund. Kan bunyi dia lain sikit daripada jadi cashier saja. Nampaklah you kerja lebih just simpan duit. You know what I mean? I'm just giving you some sample of what else can you do. Admin or WhatsApp group? No. Dr. Abbas tanya admin or WhatsApp group tu tak. Maybe it's relevant kalau you apply for social marketing ataupun social media job lah kan. That one could be useful. Tapi kalau nak apply for kerja pun tak sesuai lah kan. Okay. Sample. Okay, this is the typical how student put in their resume kan. Dia akan letak education, one-liner, lepas tu CGPA. So olah-olah CGPA ni lah yang akan menentukan masa depan you. It's not enough. In fact, kalau I nak tahu your CGPA, I tak perlu tengok your resume pun. I will just ask you to send me your transcript, right? Just give me your transcript ke apa ke, I will get your CGPA. You need to highlight what else can you do in your education, what like the coursework, coursework especially, yang relevant to the job that you're applying. Contoh, so you have your Bachelor of Art Linguistics, achieved in CPA with excellent result in Translation Studies and Corpus Linguistics. Contoh, kalau you apply for translation job. So when you say excellent result, you can make sure it's excellent lah. So when I go to your transcript, it's A or maybe B plus above or something. Tak boleh lah letak excellent result in Translation Studies tapi C. It doesn't match. You get me? Walaupun your CGA may not be that high, tapi you get A in these courses, it means differently dah. Lain dah dia punya bunyi as compared to this one, right? Of course, this also applies to, this doesn't apply to those job yang memang dia specify lah. Unfortunately, memang ada company yang akan set. Like kalau kerja government, memang you kena 3.0 and above. Certain position, dia dah specify. That one you have don't waste your time trying. Okay, kalau dah tahu requirement dia memang fix certain grade, then don't waste your time because you're going to waste your time waiting. Kena tu yang saya kata you have to strategize, right? And also this is also one reason why some people will go for further education juga lah. Dia kata dia menyesal, contoh degree dia dapat rendah, contohlah 2 point something, 2.2 ke 2.3, dia menyesal, dia nak ambil masters to top up. Whatever you get in your masters will not eliminate the 2.3, 2.4, betul tak? It will not cover up because it will forever stay with you. Cuma, what will cover up the 2.4, 2.5 ke 2.3 is always the skills. Ambil lah 10 master sekalipun, tapi kalau your skills tu masih lagi tak sama, skill set sama, right? You have all kind of masters, and then when you apply for job, they will not look for those 10 masters that you have. If they will still look for the skills. But unless I'm not saying that all masters tak bagus. What I mean is, kalau you nak pursue higher degree, make sure that during that period of time, the 1 to 3 years that you invest, you betul-betul upgrade your skill set. Not just for the sake of that degree. Itu konsep dia lain. Ada yang nak ambil dia degree just to cover up dia punya, just to top up dia punya degree, first degree punya limitation. Tak ada. Alang-alang you nak ambil masters ke, postgraduate ke, you need to make sure you learn something to the process, right? It's not just getting it for the sake of just cover up, right? Two wrong concept. Because I have seen many people who did that. Dia ingat, bila some will come and tell me, saya ingatkan ambil master ni, orang tak tengok dah degree. Well, people still, the job is a degree job. It's not a master's job kan. So they will still look for your degree punya tu lah kan. They will still look for your credential in the degree part. Okay, memang it's like that, especially in Malaysia with a lot of company, they are not willing to spend more. Bila dia tengok you ada masters and all that, dia takut sebab you minta lebih. You want a higher pay. They can get another degree guy to do your job without paying much, same skill. Tu yang masalah dia. Tapi kalau you ada masters but your skill sets are more than those degree one, I will want you tak kisah lah bayar lebih pun. It's not because of the masters, it's because of the skills that you have. Kan? Contoh if you have a skills in doing some analysis that I need you to do it. Tak ada yang degree boleh buat. I will going to pay you more because you have that niche. You know what I mean? So kalau nak ambil masters ke PhD ke, build that niche, your skill set should be the one. Yang ni hanya applicable for the private jobs lah. Kalau kerja kerajaan, lain pula cerita dia. So kerjaan they go by the scheme. Dia ada dia punya requirement pula, different type of requirement. But I'm talking in general in terms of private or any other jobs yang umum lah, bukan civil service. Okay? Experience, same thing tadi. This is just an elaboration of what I mean here. Dia jadi part-time cashier. Kalau you letak dalam resume part-time cashier saja, memanglah kan nampak tak ada apa-apa. Contoh, manage transaction with very low errors. Tak pernah short. Kalau tak pernah short lagi bagus. With no errors at all. Tak pernah short. Maksudnya, dia yang pernah jadi cashier macam saya pernah jadi cashier, tahulah apa maksud short tu. Bila nak closing tu tak cukup RM3, kita kena bayar. Cashier kena top up kan. Yang pernah jadi cashier tahulah. Seksa kalau everyday macam tu kan. Gaji tak cukup nak potong because short. So you have to make sure there's no error. Kena pula customer yang always disturb you got distracted, you jadi yang kononnya kena pukau and all that. You many errors. Maintain records and withdrawals. Yang ni yang selalu lupa. You maintain record kan. You buat bila you open your orang panggil start your cashier machine semua tu kan, you kena kira berapa ada start and then ending dia berapa, all this, you are doing all this closing and all that kan. And then involving customer service juga, kadang-kadang dipanggil untuk layan customer, you have to deal with the customer service, and then you pernah di awarded employee of the month. Bos you baik sangat, March tu dia bagilah you employee of the month, letak kat sini kan, dah lain sikit compared to yang tepi ni. So yang one page tu akan jadi 2 page because of this reason. Tapi jangan tipu ya. Ni kalau tak bagi janganlah letak sendiri awarded employee of the month tapi you bagi sendiri ni, tak boleh tipu. You know what I mean? But what I mean here is don't highlight all this award. You go for the skills. Carilah apa-apa skill yang you learn. Mesti ada punya kan. Pernah dipaksa kena, you know, walaupun dipaksa operate certain machine, actually you learn how to operate it. So janganlah kata tu you dipaksa. Sebenarnya you are learning how to use that tools. I always told my student like that, internship, kalau your boss suruh you operate machine yang you tak pernah, operate je lah, you learn. You know, or software ke apa ke, just highlight in this sense. Okay? So list about 2 or 4. Kalau you have too many, kalau you have experience banyak, then tak payahlah letak semua. Ambil yang penting saja. Tapi kalau in your case, you have nothing much, then probably you have to write more lah, a bit. But I think 4 will be just nice. 4 will be just, 2 to 4 will be just nice. Okay? By the way, I forgot about this. Your time frame is important, by the way. ATS will detect this, your period of time. Some students, they don't put the time frame. You need to put the time frame. Because the time frame will tell people what were you doing. Contoh, you graduated in 2018, right? Maybe October or September 2018, right? And then when you apply for this job in July 2020, then I will know what were you doing during that period, kan? So kalau you tak letak the time or year, then people won't know what you were doing. Okay. Another example. This one, a graphic design intern. Ada dia letak, but not that specific. Nama tak? In the design team. Apa you buat ni dalam design team tu? This is too generic, too general kan? In the design team. Help the company expo. What did you help? Kan? Help tu apa? Kan? So make sure this one is a good start lah, but you need to be more specific. Contoh, design 5 main characters for the company new animated series. Dah by Magic, contoh. So it kan clearer. So you have 5 main characters. Assisted the company in promoting its product at kat mana? Ni help kan? Kat mana? Malaysian Digital Expo 27 PBLT. Kali dapat the angka lagi bagus. With 1,000 participants. Contoh. It gives a different impression altogether. You see the big difference here? I will go for this one. Because you quantify what you can do. This one is too generic. Anyone can write this. Kan? You berdiri di tepi pintu pun help the company. Betul tak? I mean, in a way. So you need to be more specific. This is why whatever job you have, again, back to what I told you just now, keep a log of what you did. Because sometimes if you don't keep a log, you miss out. You have your phone now, right? I mean, you can set a photo, you can put in notes. Some people even record your voice. One of my students actually create a group with dia seorang-seorang saja dalam group tu. Dia create the group, kick out dia seorang-seorang. So group tu adalah tempat dia kumpulkan semua yang dia belajar throughout their career. Which is a good thing. Kerja hari ni dia masuk something new, dia nak ambil gambar, letak dalam group tu. Group WhatsApp group dia lah. Tapi dia seorang je dalam tu. Right? So that's a good strategy. Because you don't want to lose it, right? You don't want to lose it. So bila dalam WhatsApp ni, bila ke WhatsApp web ada lagi. So you can keep it. Kalau tak, then upload lah ke folder, ke drive, whatever you want. Alright? Note that these are more specific, okay? More. Kalau another strategy is you align to the company's profile. You know that this company, contoh you nak apply for this graphic design, you know that this digital daba is number hat ni dia focus in animation. You know dia punya niche memang animation. So you purposely sell your animated skill lah. I mean your animation skill. Jangan sell benda lain. You get me? Because you want that job that relate to the company's punya expertise. Okay. Next. Skill. Yang ni typical. Memanglah selalu macam ni kan. Skill letak languages ataupun tadi yang letak some people ask about the skill. Don't even use the skill 1 to 4. No need. You're not doing a questionnaire. You are not giving vague answers. Don't give anything vague to your potential employer. Right? Give it specific. Like kalau you good, put highly proficient in using Microsoft including Excel. Then you pandai juga guna statistical packages. Kalau you dah specific lagi, you have certain analysis that you need to know, you buat lah. sufficient skill in conducting market research. Yang sufficient ni not so good. Instead of saying limited, put sufficient. You get what I mean? But if you want to be more, this is maybe not so good as well. If you want, maybe put in in parentheses or in brackets something clearer, like have conducted market research for how many participants. That's better, right? Because rather than saying sufficient skill, so you can say what have you done. This one is still adjective, but if you can quantify it, like just now, like have you done something, that would be better. Kan? Tapi yang ni untuk yang tak ada lah. For those yang, you have nothing much to put in, you can probably write like this. Also, this one, don't put, just for the sake of putting, you try to align to the company juga. Contoh, this one is for those yang in marketing and business. Let's say this resume is for those in marketing and business, so they need all these things, so they put it in, right? Very fluent in Malay, both in writing, and this is better than just English Malay like this. Fluent in English, especially in speaking, and if you know able to speak conventional Mandarin, just put it in, right? Or if you know some dialects, put it in, like Malay dialects or whatever. Just because sometimes some company will look for that, but it's still English and Malay like. No, this is the key thing. Mandarin will be an added advantage these days, but conversational Mandarin will be sufficient, even if you don't know how to read. That would be an added value. For those who are non-Mandarin speakers, this is my tip for you. Learn a bit of Mandarin. Basic conversational Mandarin will be sufficient for day-to-day conversation. Tak perlu sampai ke tahap know how to read and write. Because if you have this, your profile or your resume akan jadi tick +1 than the rest. Betul tak? Compared to those yang tak ada this one. Kan? This one only 2 kan? Tiba-tiba you ada conventional Mandarin. Kan you dah ada satu lebih daripada yang lain. Okay? And not just Mandarin lah. In other language. Cuma, in the context of Malaysia, you belajar French ke, German ke apa, tu maybe not so relevant lah. Unless you're applying for that kind of company. Ada yang apply for Japanese company. They know that the management is, still Japanese, German and all that. Because in Malaysian context, mostly, it's still Malaysian dominated anyway. Right? In most of the companies. Okay? Fit the need of the job lah. Try your best. Don't just put everything. Kalau the company memang is looking for something who know how to do marketing, then you try to sell this thing. Okay. Customize your resume to fit the job. Don't use the same one over and over again. This is my tip. Depending on the position, you have to customize it. You cannot just send the same thing over and over again to everyone, right? Kadang-kadang you pun lose track. Which one are you sending? And then you terlupa. So you need to make sure. What I normally do in my case, I will label it. Like contoh resume, I will label it Petronas. Resume _ Asia. So I will know which resume I send it to which company. Jangan edit lepas tu you tak save and then you reuse the old one. So your resume akan jadi banyak lah. Version for Petronas, version for Asia, version for maybe for kerja government, different. You have different version. Right? You have to spend some time, and when you apply for job, bukan kata nampak advertisement tu hantar resume. Do a bit of background search. What do they really want? What do they really require in the requirement? Then fit into your resume. Right? Use the keywords. Okay, yang before we go to the last part, sikit saja this part, but I would see if there's any. Oh, Dr. Nadia, if applicants have gaps in between, that's the purpose of the time frame actually. That's the purpose of the time frame. If let's say you graduated in 2018 and you have nothing to fill into your resume, maksudnya maybe 1 year gap, it's fine to start something after that. There's a gap, like 1 year gap, because during the interview they will ask you. During the interview, if they notice the gap, they will ask you what happened during the gap. So you have to be prepared to answer that question immediately. In fact, that is a compulsory question normally. Kalau memang your resume ada gap, during the interview, they will ask you what happened during that 1 year gap. So you bagi je lah your reason. You were still seeking ke, you were still contemplating nak further study ke tak ke. Maybe you are still trying to convince your parents. I have a lot of students who had this difficulty. Dia nak kerja, ada kerja, tapi kerja di luar kawasan. You know what I mean? Luar negeri dia lah. So they need to spend 1 year to convince the parent to benarkan dia keluar. Happen, right? Sometimes apply for job ni bukan kata kita nak terus nak. there's so many factors, right? Your family factors, especially. Mak tak bagi you fly over and all that. So a lot of factors. So if you don't tell it in your resume, and then you tell it later, I mean, like how to put it, like macam you try to suppress this kind of knowledge, then it will be harder for you to answer dalam interview. Tapi kalau you dah tahu, letak siap-siap di resume, and then I mean, you know that your resume ada gap, and then you know that they will ask you during the interview, you are more ready to answer. You get what I mean? Rather than you try to answer it later. Kononnya you nak suppress this kind of information. Normally don't. Alright. And even this kind of thing, like if you're applying for internship and all this kan, they will ask you sometimes. Dalam interview dia akan tanya, you buat kat digital apa ni, apa lagi yang you buat? Because they will know that maybe this are the most important one. So the during the interview, they have more things to ask you. Bayangkan kalau your resume like this only, susah you nak anticipate question for the interview, and they probably have nothing much to ask you juga sebab you didn't tell them earlier. Tapi kalau you dah buat macam ni, ada point sikit, and during the interview you kind of know what they want to ask. They probably ask you about how do you deal with customers. You probably when you say low errors ni apa maksud dia. You are limiting, kind of like narrow down your interview punya questions dah. Because kalau ni open ended macam ni, interview nanti macam-macam lah dia tanya kan, bro, and you don't know what they're gonna ask because you make it open, right? So if you try to control this, they will be helpful for you, right? Okay. If there are more questions, just put in the chat. I try to answer. Last one, the lure. The lure, last one. So what are the things that you need to kind of pay attention to enhance, right? This one, the first one, your social profile. The best you can do, check your social profile for fresh graduate especially. Kalau yang tak ada kerja lagi lah, kan, yang tak ada kerja lagi. Your Facebook, your Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, clean up. Mana yang terlalu banyak benda-benda personal tu, make it private terus. Bila you nak apply kerja lah kan. Sebab, you'll be surprised, a lot of things that you don't put in your resume will be found out during the interview. Zaman dah banyak, dah berubah banyak, right? I have seen some HR manager actually ask questions based on what they saw on Twitter. Especially things that politics, you don't want to jeopardize your future because of certain things you say or whatever things you're engaged with. Kan dia kata, I saw your tweet about this. Were you involved in this? Oh. Kan, you tak letak pun dalam your resume. You know what I mean? So, check through. Kan you have seen some cases juga kan. People dig out your tweet like 10 years ago masa you tengah budak. Of course lagi merapu because you belum matang lagi. But people will dig it out and then people will make it a point to kill you, right? So, but again, if you're good, they probably still hire you. But if there are too many candidates, they probably try to use this kind of reason to kind of exclude you in a way lah, or just to test you. Sometimes they test you as well. So before that happen, you might want to be safe. Especially TikTok as well. Yang suka dancing ni. If you use TikTok for the benefit, okay. Kan? Ada yang guna TikTok for marketing and all that, is fine because that will be added value. Kalau I jadi company, I saw your TikTok followers banyak, and then you are sharing good content. I want you because you're gonna help my company to grow. Because you know what I mean. You have, contoh lah, you YouTuber famous, then you apply for my company. I nak you because famous kan, kononnya lah. I mean with the content. Tapi kalau your TikTok it's not really helpful, then you might want to make it private ataupun jangan try not to reveal too much of yourself. Okay? So I would prefer LinkedIn only. Yeah, some people say LinkedIn only. Kalau yang lain tu keep it for your personal style, is fine. As long as you distinguish between personal and professional. No harm to have this, by the way. No harm to have this, just that it's your personal use. And this is for the professional use. So LinkedIn is a must now. A lot of HR company in Malaysia, they want the easy way out. They will find you on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I think you can find online. I have a few sharing on LinkedIn as well on how to improve your LinkedIn profile and all that. But bottom line is the same thing like your resume. Don't cheat. Put things that you learn. Put things that you have mastered. All the skill set that you learn. All the certificate you have taken. Just highlight it and occasionally share things, professional things. LinkedIn is not just about profile. A lot of people treat LinkedIn like a Facebook or Friendster kind of stuff, or even like a profile. LinkedIn is a platform for networking. You can actually approach people directly on LinkedIn and get their jobs. Those of my students yang daring ni, yang bold, they get a job after, before even graduation. They approach all these people on LinkedIn, like CEO ke HR manager on LinkedIn. They will send in, I'm going to graduate in a month's time. I'm really good in this. Would you mind take a look at my resume? This dia jual dia. Tapi before you do that, your profile tu kena consistent lah. Ada yang dia dah share dia punya sharing. Contoh, you're in language, you share your articles, you share your work, you publish it on LinkedIn. People notice you, right? And then when you approach these people, they will look at your profile. Dia ni pandai lah menulis. I want you. Without even you belum habis graduate pun, belum habis lagi. I dah book you lah. You get what I mean? So this is one added advantage that people don't appreciate. Dia anggap LinkedIn ni macam profile just for people to search you. It's actually your job to find people as well, right? It's one way to build your networking, build your profile. Okay. Yeah, prepare a portfolio. I recommend this kalau you have a lot of skills which cannot be explained in words. You need a portfolio. Like kalau yang suka menulis, you blog and all that, you prepare a portfolio. You publish ke, your product design ke, you take pictures of whatever events you have conducted. Kalau you letak resume tak cukup kan? I mean too long. Kan, like, let's say you conducted a very successful event, right? And then you can put in a picture format. And it doesn't have to be printed. This is my version. It can be printed, but you just do it like a digital format will be fine. E-portfolio. You can use Google Sites, WordPress, so many tools. Just build your profile. And these days, added advantage would be all this social, like YouTube and TikTok lah. If you use it wisely, it could be your portfolio, right? Like my YouTube now becomes my portfolio, and people find me on YouTube and then they start to invite me for things that I don't even know where they get it from, but then they saw my YouTube and then they invite me. Like last week, one university from California, they asked me if I can share on that particular topic I shared on YouTube. So I was quite shocked. It means you make use of all these platforms for your advantage, not just for the sake of just for fun. You know that you're going to sell yourself, and it could work, but I'm not saying it's going to guarantee it, but it could be added value, right? This one, right? Make use of the online tool. Yeah, lure number 3. This is the one that I told you just now. The same like some of my students, those are bold and confident too. You have to do more work now. Especially after the pandemic, you really have to struggle more for fresh graduate yang akan graduate tahun depan ataupun tahun ni. Why? Like I said, you're going to compete with so many cohorts yang tengah menganggur ni. Banyak cohort ni dah mountains of graduate tengah tunggu, and then those yang dah retrench semua tu baru saja slowly fill in. You can see why a lot of riders are getting lesser sebab dia dah dapat kerja. Kan, dah kurang sikit food riders these days sebab ramai yang dapat kerja, ada yang kerja whatever lah, right? So those yang dah dapat kerja means opportunity for the fresh graduate will be slightly lower. They will go for all these young experience ni, because those food riders are normally the retrenched workers yang pernah kerja kilang, maybe dah ada whole position admin sikit, tapi dia retrench because they need to cut cost. Adapun company dia tutup, they have to do food riding for a while ataupun Grab and all that. Now they're back to the job market, and fresh graduate akan ke belakang lah because they have experience already, right? So you need to see what's trending also. Always analyze what's trending in terms of the market. Kalau you know you want to go for that job, you need to know what are they doing in that job, right? Job A requires you to do A, tapi you tak pandai buat A, then you need to do something about it. Spend maybe the first 6 months after graduation, ambil lah online courses ke, go and ask people about this, learn the skills, and then get yourself ready because you want to be in that field lah, kan? Contoh lah, yang macam fresh graduate yang nak ambil masters, lepas tu dia nak jadi lecturers and all that. One key thing is research skills, kan? So you need to learn how to do research, how to do proper research publication. If you have all those, the moment you habis your masters, you apply for job, you are in a better position lah, kononnya lah, in a way, compared to those yang tak ready langsung. Upskill, take a chance, polish your skill. Ambil lah freelancing job pun, nak buat business sendiri pun tak apa, tapi at the same time, try to pick up skills. Jangan kata comfortable with jual barang di Shopee, tapi just comfortable dengan jual saja. Tapi fokus juga apa lagi yang you buat, kan? I'm sure you learn some skills. Cara nak buat product design, cara nak do social media marketing. All these things has to be highlighted in your resume. Not just about selling it on Shopee, right? Or you know, on social media and all that. So take up. There's this Fiverr. I'm not sure whether this is something I am amazed with Fiverr ni. Kalau you pergi fiverr.com ni, there are a lot of Indonesian students and they do it for a very low price and they are earning thousands per month. Susah sangat nak cari Malaysian kat dalam tu. But it's open to anyone. Fiverr ni you can charge for freelancing job. Design logo ke, you know, you nak buat MC ke, write script ke, you can do it odd job. And it's a freelancing job. Freelancing is also another opportunity for you to pick up skills. Yang pandai fotografi, yang pandai buat video, you can take up this chance to polish it. Sambil you wait for a proper job, sambil tu you get you also get some income, right? Oh yeah, last one, extra tip, I forgot. Apart from your resume and also your job application, even if you apply online, this is my tip for my students. Even if you apply from LinkedIn and all that, it's always good to send a email, like a courtesy email ataupun cover letter email. Last time they call it cover letter lah, right? But now we don't use letter lah, email. Right? Cover like a cover on your resume. Dulu you have a cover letter on your resume. Now you don't need it. But my advice to student, bila you apply job online, apply apa sajalah, LinkedIn ke, mau kerja ke, always follow up with an email. So you can say things like, dear sir, I recently applied for the position of True White website, right? And I would like to send a courtesy email informing you about my credential and this is my resume. So you do a follow up like that. So people nampak lah you serious nak kerja, bukan just apply for fun. Ada yang apply for fun, lepas tu bila on call dia tak nak. Dia kata, saya cuba je. Ingatkan tak masuk pun. You see what I mean? You are killing your opportunity because of all this nonsense that you do sometimes, kan? Ada yang hantar email, resume tak ada heading, blank, right? You know what I mean? I pernah, because I have a startup and I was looking for software engineer student as apa ni, two of my workers lah. I mean like my employee last time lah, last 2 years ago. So boleh dia hantar email, dia kata, awak, saya nak minta kerja ni, boleh tak awak? In a email to me. I was like, dah lah tak attach anything and all that, you know what I mean? Imagine kalau, maybe I layan lagi lah. So I will just reply, say, could you just send me your resume ke apa? Tapi kalau kena yang, HR manager, memang tak layan langsung lah. I sometimes I don't understand why student would do this. Nak kata tak pergi universiti, dah belajar 3-4 tahun kat universiti, kan? Kalau yang baru habis sekolah, maybe lah boleh dimaafkan. Tapi even lepas sekolah pun, I tak akan maafkan juga sebab this are basic courtesy, kan? Kalau lagi Twitter lagi teruk, kan? Twitter kadang-kadang I will advertise. I said looking for this. Dia boleh DM tu, naklah kerja ni. So you nak ke tak? They like just, you get what I mean? I'm not sure whether they are serious or not. Actually, they want to get a job. So, but doing this would give you the added post. The email like this. Dear sir, I recently came across a vacancy advertisement for a training manager. I'm a fresh graduate. You point blank lah, you kata, right? Majoring in humans, although I'm lacking in terms of working experience, I've equipped myself with necessary knowledge and skill to contribute to company. Above all, I'm also a keen learner, blah blah. This one is a bit kelentong, manis-manis, tak apalah. This is because this is a cover email, but tak payah panjang. A short one like this will be sufficient, like a courtesy email after you have applied through the website, right? Even though you dah send in your resume, you send in sekali lagi kat sini. So nampak lah you serious, right? You want that job, okay? Also, kalau you apply online di platform, there's a tendency they don't entertain kalau they reply, kan? This one, kalau you dah hantar, ada record yang you dah hantar, and if they don't reply, it's going to be bad on them. They will feel bad lah, macam kalau HR manager ni, okay lah, reply. Okay, we have received your resume, we'll process. At least sedap sikit lah, kan? Kalau you apply di LinkedIn, tak pernah dapat jawapan, kan? You never get anything. Right? If you apply in LinkedIn ke, all this, you never get anything. Somehow you just get the notification fail. That's it. But email, it gives it a bit of personal touch. Tapi WhatsApp tak di-encourage kecuali kalau memang disuruh WhatsApp. because now a lot of companies are using WhatsApp for business, automated bot. They are not human. They are using bots for the WhatsApp. So bila you hantar, bot yang jawab, bukan human. So tak payah nak manis-manis sangat lah yang tu. Tapi still put in the proper polite language lah. Janganlah kata ni resume saya. Macam nak macam you lagi hebat. Okay. Alright. Okay. I think that's all from me. But I want to say this. We know it's competitive, but the best may not always win. Just because you are the best doesn't mean you will win all the time, because it's the fighter who fights the best. Walaupun your CGPA taklah bagus sangat, but if you know the strategy, if you do it right, you will still win it. Meaning you can still get the job even if your so-called CGPA tak tinggi sangat, right? The best sometimes you tengok dalam boxing ke, football ke kan, tim ni duk serang tak masuk langsung. Tu tiba-tiba masuk gol, dia menang. Walaupun dia taklah hebat sangat pun. So it's not always the best one who will win. It's the person who fights the best or the person who do the best. Okay? So that's it. Thank you very much. Kalau ada further question, I will be happy to entertain. Kalau ada lah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chuah Kee Man. Okay, we actually do have some questions.
Oh, okay.
From we got it from the form that we gave earlier.
Oh, right, okay.
This is the question.
Yeah.
How long does the employer usually take in responding to the resume? And how long do you have to wait for the response?
Usually no response. If you apply directly via email, if they are big companies with proper HR manager and all that, normally they will probably reply you within maybe the fastest will be 48 hours, within 2 days, like that, about 48 hours. But the average will be a week or two. But if you're applying for like open kind of advertisement, in like they give a very generic email, normally no reply at all. And if you apply online via the platform, like JobStreet and all that, the reply will come from the notification itself, so they don't really reply you formally. But if you have waited after 3 weeks, no reply, you can follow up. You always do the follow up. But when you follow up, janganlah, like I said, do the improper way. Just can I know what happened to my application? Like macam demanding. So just write a new email or reply saying that I was wondering whether my email was received 2 weeks ago or something like that. Do it a proper way rather than demanding for an answer. So if after that no reply at all means they don't want you. Yeah. After 3 or 4 weeks, if you don't get anything, normally they don't want you, because company normally don't wait that long to hire people for private and all these corporate companies lah. Yeah. Any other question?
Thank you, Mr. Chuah. Okay, one last question. All right.
Last question.
Okay. So is language proficiency necessary in a resume? And if so, how do we rate them? Like, how do we put it properly inside the resume?
Oh, yes. Language proficiency is actually not really crucial, unless, again, the advertisement specifically says candidate must be able to speak fluently and all that. Then you have to repeat that word or repeat those lines in your resume, just to please the system. If they're using the ATS system, the system will filter you immediately because of the word fluent is in your resume. 2, you are fulfilling the requirement. So put it in if, I think you have seen this many times. Candidate must be able to communicate well in English and in Malay or something like that, or in certain other languages like Mandarin or whatever. If you don't have it, then you can try, but you will know that why you are not getting it because of that requirement. But if they don't put it in a requirement or in the advertisement, it's always good to just highlight it generally, because these kind of things that they like all this fluency kind of thing, they will test you during the interview or during the phone call or Zoom call or whatever they want. So it's not really like a really urgent thing to be considered in your resume. So that's why it's always last. Language and all this is always the last part. It's just to fulfill the requirement of the advertisement. And if they're using system, I would suggest you to repeat the lines. If they say candidate should be able to communicate fluently, so you use back those lines in your resume. Able to communicate fluently in English. That's it. right? Because they will know from, even if you have like, so I know some people will put like MUET Band 6, or some people put CEFR, or IELTS and whatever. All those will not matter until they meet you. Because the moment you talk, the moment, they communicate with you, they will know how good you are, right? But if you're writing for a position where written skill, yes. That could be proven through your written work. This is where your portfolio will come in. So if you're writing for a position like a writer, I used to work with the Star as well. So when I applied for the job with the Star as an editor, they asked me to send in 10 articles. So I was kind of happy because I was blogging at that time. I wrote a lot of blog sharing those days during my uni year. So I can just use my blog. So I send it through the email. Within 24 hours, I get a reply already, because they saw the writing part. Because you don't need to talk unless they want you to be a journalist. Then you have to talk part. You have to communicate. But the writing matters more in that case. So again, strategize. Need to know what they want. Since you know they want that skill, you try to highlight those skills that you have. Right? Don't just how to put it? Don't just just send something generic, something general, not aligned to the job that you're applying. Okay, but these are all proper jobs with proper system lah. If you're applying for all this cashier part-time job, they don't need this. They probably just see a glimpse of your qualification, and that's all. And then normally they will get the job quite immediately, like immediate vacancy kind of thing. But this is more like a proper full-time job where they will give you a proper salary with a salary slips and all that, right? Okay. Any other thing that to be asked?
That's all. And also we are running out of time.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Mr. Chuah Kee Man, for addressing this interesting topic. In fact, I've written a lot of notes for myself. So on behalf of PBLT Society, we thank you for joining us today. And also, before we end the session, let's have a photo session. We hope you can all turn your camera for a photo session with us. And for the USM students, the link for attendance and my CSD has been provided in the Webex chat and the YouTube live chat. So we hope all of you learn something and to improve your resume and also writing skills. Okay, let's turn on your camera.
May I follow you on any? Yeah, sure. You can follow me. I'm open. I have nothing to hide. So just find me on any platform.
We've shared the wallpaper, the backdrop, so you can use that. Okay. I think we are all ready. Okay, let's just wait for a while. Hold on, we will share the link after the photo session. Just wait for a while, okay? Also, we will provide the QR code for my CSD, so you can either use the link or you can scan the code. All right, I think we're all ready. Okay, 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, next page. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Can we do a freestyle?
Freestyle.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please do follow Mr. Chuah on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, also Twitter. Okay, we're about to share the link, and also we're going to share the QR code. You can use either. Thank you so much, Mr. Chuah, for your time. We really appreciate it on behalf of PBLT. Thank you so much. We hope to see you again in the future.
Yeah, likewise. Take care, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good day. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kee Man. Really appreciate it. That was a wonderful session. I think our students learned a lot. I learned a lot too today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Oh, while you are here, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've shared the link earlier just now. Like, I will reattach it again. Don't worry. Our YouTube channel. And so do follow us on Instagram, Facebook. We don't have TikTok, but maybe I think we should make TikTok too. We should. Okay, that's the link. Don't forget to subscribe to us because we will have more activities, something like this in the future, educational purposes. Don't worry. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye bye, everyone. Have a good day.
you.